Hello?
Hey Alex, how's it going?
Fine, how are you?
Good, good. How's 10th grade?
It's going great.
Yes? You're liking your classes right now?
Some of them, mostly like my math. Not much of my English, just math.
You like your math the best?
Yeah.
And what do you like about your math class?
My math teacher, he's very good. He's very helpful.
Mr. G?
Yes.
You like Mr. G?
Yeah.
A lot of the students like Mr. G. What do you like about him?
I like how he helps you go through the problems and helps you out on your homework when you don't understand.
So he's helping you out with your homework problems when you don't understand. That's great. That's really good. So I called you in to talk about your STAR testing reports. You should have probably got this in the mail. Did you guys get them at home?
Yeah, I got them a few weeks ago.
A few weeks ago? Okay. And did you go over them? Did you open them with your mom and look at the report? Or did your mom go over it? Did you go over it?
I went over it by myself.
By yourself? Okay. So maybe it'd be a good time for you to also look over. Do you have time maybe to go and look over the test with your mom too?
Yeah.
So she can do it? I mean, it's kind of complicated stuff in here. I know it doesn't look very user-friendly sometimes. But it's probably a good idea for your mom to look over these with you,
Well, our teachers ask us, they know when we get the STAR test, so they tell us how to go over it and how it works.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Well, that's really good. We've been working on that with the teachers to hopefully help the students out, because these are kind of complicated. They're not always easy to understand. How was the testing experience for you? I mean, I know it was last spring. But
It was long, and after a while, you need to take a break for so much testing. And it was fun. Some questions, the hardest part were the writing parts.
That was the hardest part, the writing?
Yeah.
What was hard about that for you?
How to format an essay, or how to come up with the ideas to start an essay.
Yeah, that's interesting. Did your English teacher, have they worked with you a little bit on that? Or did you kind of not know what you were getting into?
Well, they have, just that the hard part is the topic and try to figure out how to work with the topic they gave you.
And so you feel like it's maybe tough to kind of get started on that process and know what to write about?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's look at how you did here, and let's see if that matches up how you think you did or how you feel about it. So these bars here are about where you did on the exam, on the testing. And basically on this scale, they rate it from far below basic, being the bottom, and advanced, being at the top here, bar. And this line here, where it says state target for all students, is where they would like all the students to be, on the testing. And so you can see from the graph here, in these black lines, this is about where you did in each category. So we have your English, which you're, proficient. You fall in the proficient category, which is great. And geometry, your score is a 221, which only means that right now you're falling below basic.
Okay.
So maybe that's something we can talk to Mr. G about. It sounds like you actually do like your math. And maybe this isn't reflecting how you're really doing in your classes. Because your grades in Mr. G's class, what I've seen, are pretty good. So this maybe isn't matching up to those grades. How do you feel about that?
Well, I know I could have done better or tried a little harder. But
how so?
By practicing, taking practice tests, or asking the teacher to give more tests in class.
And you think that maybe help you, is just get more practice tests?
Yes.
Okay. Your world history now, again, you're proficient. Biology, right in the high basic, almost proficient. And then life science, you're also proficient. So these scores really do, for the most part, match what I see on your grades and your reports, except for the geometry. And it sounds like that's not really matching how you sounds like you enjoy it and you're liking it, but maybe something in here is just not indicating how you could really do in the math. So on the back part, now this is just a little more detail about what's on the front. And so these little triangles or kind of like where you fared, how you did in each of the little components of the areas of English and geometry. And then the line is generally the range of where the average proficient student did. So you can see if your triangle, your little diamond, I mean there, matched in for the line, then you fell in about the average range of other students.
Okay.
And then if you didn't, then it shows where in the percentiles you landed for those. So how does this look to you? Does this make sense? Or I mean, I know it's confusing, and if you have any questions, definitely ask me. I know this is not always the easiest stuff to sort of process.
Well, it looks fine. It's better on the front side. It's easier to understand and go through.
Yeah, it's definitely easier to kind of see this graph and see where you fall in versus all these details. This might just give you an idea of, you know, where you want to, where you want to beef up your studying, or where we want to look at maybe a little more of a need for you to look at. And then some of the other areas also indicate what you're really strong at, right? So what maybe you're doing really well at that you didn't even realize you were doing well at. I noticed that, earlier you mentioned that English and language wasn't maybe your favorite, but you're doing really the best at those. So that's great.
Okay.
How else do you feel about all of this?
Well, I think I did a pretty good job other than the geometry, and I can make some adjustments and get better and practice more and study more.
And maybe it sounds like Mr. G is really willing to work with you and the other students, so we can talk about that and maybe see what skill set we can work on, so that this score really matches your actual grades.
Okay.
And how does this look, I mean, in terms of what you want to do after high school?
Well, I want to do culinary arts.
Okay, you want to do culinary arts.
Yeah.
And have you thought about where you might want to do that, or what you like about that?
Well, I talked to a visitor chef, and she told us that at the end of high school, we can take a free course, and it teaches the basic steps to culinary arts and what we have to deal with and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, the visiting chef that came to the school.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So that's something that interests you then, is the culinary arts.
Yeah.
And so this course is for after high school?
After high school, so you can, and they help you get a job and start working at restaurants and stuff like that.
Okay, and how long is the course?
It's like a year or two.
Okay.
Of just cooking.
And basically, is it like an apprenticeship? You apprentice with them, and then they help you find a placement in a restaurant?
Yeah.
That sounds awesome. And what does your mom feel about that?
Well,
you talked to her about that?
Yeah, yes and no. And it's until I get out of high school, so it's more of a have to wait thing. But I talked to her about it, and she likes it.
She's on board with that idea.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. I think it's important then when you talk to her about this, then you can talk to her more about this course that you're interested in. Do you know, is the course in California?
It's in Santa Monica.
It's in Santa Monica. So it's close by for you, which is nice. Would you have any interest also in maybe going to a 4-year culinary arts program?
Well, after I would like to, if I could.
If you could, yeah. Do you know in terms of expense, is the course sort of...
It's free.
It's free?
It's free.
Well, that's amazing, so I can see how that would be good for you. There are some schools also 4-year programs. There's one in Rhode Island, Johnson & Wales, just far. It's far.
There's one in San Francisco. There's one in, I think it's Oakland. There's one in Vegas.
And do those interest you as well?
Yeah. I think it's like Cordon Bleu.
Yeah, Cordon Bleu has a lot of locations. And if you want, we could even look into, I know this other course is free that the visiting chef talked about, which is always a plus. Yeah. But we can also I can look at for you, and you can look at, and we can research together what maybe private scholarships those other schools have, and see what the cost would look like for you. And if it makes sense, if you're interested in either going outside of California, or if you would like to stay closer to home, we can look at some of those benefits and pros and cons and weigh out what might be the best option for you as well.
Okay.
Okay? That's great. You kind of have a plan, and it's great for your family, and maybe you can be a cook for them. I would love that. Anything else you want to ask me, or anything else on your mind right now?
About like tutoring or anything after school, if there's any possible way I can take that to help me with my scores.
Definitely. What we can do is talk to Mr. G. I have a list of some tutors as well, and we can try to find a good match for you. Someone to help you with just those little tricky areas that you might be feeling not as comfortable with.
Okay.
This is important, but it's not the be-all, end-all. And your grades are still, pretty good. They're not really reflecting of this score. So we can also see if it's maybe, a test strategy. I know you mentioned that the testing, you didn't really enjoy it, you need a break. So we can maybe look at that. Could be an issue too. It might not just be your math skills, your math ability. It may just be also the test itself, and we can look at that. Okay?
Okay.
Great. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Get back to class. Have a great day.
Okay.